Hi, all. I'm Mr. Mendoza, second grade teacher at Wave Du Bois Charter Academy with Agape Schools. Today I'm going to read a another fairy tale, Seven Swans, or the Wild Swans. During this, as we read this, as you read this, as I read this, as you read along with me, I would like for you to think about what do you think happened to the queen at the end of the story? Explain what happens to the queen at the end of the story. There's a little math for you also. How many shirt sleeves was Eliza able to make for her brothers? Solve the problem in two different ways. The Wild Swans. A retelling of the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale by Karen Mockler, illustrated by Sumiti Kolina. What role does Eliza play in the story? Who's Eliza in the story? Just a couple of things you can think about. Words to know: dawn, dusk, knit, nettles, task, and wicked. There once lived a king who had 11 sons and one daughter. He married a wicked queen, and soon after the wedding, she turned the princes into 11 wild swans. With a strange cry, they flew up into the clouds and away. The king asked the queen if she knew where the princesses were. She merely smiled and shook her head. At dusk, the swans returned. They flew through the open bedroom window of the princess, Eliza. Ooh, Eliza's the princess. Another king and wicked stepmother. As the sun set, their feathers fell off, and Eliza's 11 brothers stood before her. By day, we fly about as wild swans, said the oldest brother. Each night, when the sun sinks, we become human again. That night, Eliza dreamed that a fairy came to her. Your brothers can be released, she said. You must gather nettles from the forest and use them to knit 11 shirts. If the shirts are thrown over the 11 swans, the spell will be broken. So she has to knit 7 new shirts with very special nettles. Be warned, though, the fairy added, from the moment you start your task until it is finished, you must not speak. The first word you speak will kill your brothers. Yikes! That's scary. Imagine, imagine having to go about and work at something, create something like knit shirts, but you can't say a word to anybody. How would that make you feel? Would you be able to do that? Would you be able to work without saying a word? Would you be able to work quietly? Will the princess be able to? Let's find out. The princess set out for the forest to begin her work. She gathered many nettles, which burned great blisters on her hands. With the nettles, she made yarn for the first shirt. Her brothers returned at sunset, and when they saw her hands, the youngest brother wept. Where his tears fell, the pain stopped, and the blisters vanished. Each day Eliza knit another shirt. When she needed more burning nettles, she gathered them and hurried back to the castle. Each day at dusk, the brothers returned to her. Each dawn, they again became wild swans and flew away. But one morning, the queen saw them leaving Eliza's open window and grew worried. Uh-oh, what's going to happen now? What is she going to do? Her brothers are showing her love. They saw all that pain that she's going through. But then stepmother comes around. Let's see what happens. Uh-oh. According to the illustration, now is one wicked woman there. The next dawn, before they could fly away, the queen threw a giant net over the swans. She had men haul the swans to a dark cell deep in the castle's dungeon. Eliza found them there and continued to knit through the dark nights outside their cell door. She doesn't give up. She's persistent. She's a hard worker. She wants to see her brothers back. Then the queen announced that there would be a grand feast. Roast bird for everyone in the castle. Roast bird? Hold on. Isn't that the isn't a swan a bird? Is she going to kill all the 11 brothers? Yikes. Only Eliza knew the truth about the feast, and she could not speak it. She continued her task instead. What's going to happen? The morning of the feast, 10 shirts lay beside her at her brother's cell. She was working hard on the last shirt when the men came to haul the swans away. As the queen unlocked the cell door, Eliza threw 11 shirts over the swans. They turned into 11 handsome princes. But the youngest brother's shirt was not quite done. He was left with a swan's wing instead of an arm. Oh, wow. The 11th swan didn't completely transform back into a boy, still had a wing. I wonder what's everyone to think. When the king learned the truth about his new wife, he sent guards to arrest her. On her throne, they found a vulture. The queen was never seen again. Oh, I wonder, is that vulture the actual queen? Was she? Do you remember in fairy tales, there's always magic kings, queens, princesses, and so on and so forth. And I guess she turned into a vulture, a mean, ugly vulture. I hope that you enjoyed the story of the wild swans and how hopefully your mind goes crazy with thinking about it.